Hey everybody, Frank Spear back with you today for a really short video. Genesis chapter 5, Enoch. This passage very often used to prove or support a literal rapture perspective on the scriptures. In other words, they may take 1 Thessalonians 4:17, be caught up together to meet the Lord in the air, and say, there were other people in the scriptures who were literally taken away off the planet miraculously, and so why can't 1 Thessalonians 4:17 be talking about a literal rapture? And they very often will refer here to Genesis chapter 5 verse 24 with Enoch. But what I want to look at today is that one verse and ask the question, does it necessitate a literal rapture in any way? And the answer, I think you will see, is no, not at all. Let's begin in verse 21. Enoch lived 65 years and became the father of Methuselah. Then Enoch walked with God 300 years after he became the father of Methuselah, and he had other sons and daughters. So all the days of Enoch were 365 years. And here it comes, verse 24. Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. Blurred out on you there. Enoch walked with God, and he was not, he was no longer there, because God took him. I don't see how in the world that necessitates a rapture, especially when you look at the original Hebrew wording. Nothing here points to Enoch being supernaturally removed from the planet. It says he was a godly man, he walked with God 365 years, and he was no longer here because God took him. That Hebrew word for took him, or had taken him, let's look how it's used. Here's an example of how it's used in Ezekiel when he talks about the death of his wife. Ezekiel chapter 24, verse 15. And the word of the Lord came to me, Ezekiel, saying, Son of man, behold, I am about to take from you. There's the same Hebrew word as Genesis 5:24. I'm about to take from you the desire of your eyes with a blow. But you will not mourn, and you will not weep, and your tears shall not come. Groan silently, make no mourning for the dead. Bind on your turban, and put your shoes on your feet, and do not cover your mustache, and do not eat the bread of men. So I spoke to the people in the morning, and in the evening my wife died. So his wife died, and it's described in verse 15 as God saying, I'm about to take her from you. Back to Genesis chapter 5. Enoch walked with God, and he was no more, for God took him. This is simply saying he died. Where would we get, if we did not have 1 Thessalonians, which they did not, the readers of these Old Testament scriptures before Thessalonians was written? Let's say you were living 700 years BC. Just pick a number. And you were reading this passage here and about Enoch. What would give you the idea, based on the wording here, that Enoch was supernaturally removed from the planet? Enoch walked with God, and he was no longer. He was not, for God took him. Anyway, something to think about. Thank you guys. See you next time.